as the country continues to celebrate the life and times of musician AKA and celebrity chef Tebello Motsoane, we now turn our focus to the profession of bodyguarding. Another person believed to be AKA's bodyguard was wounded in last week's shooting in Durban. Many celebrities and politicians don't go anywhere without their security detail, but for you to be a bodyguard, you must be willing, many in the industry say, to take a bullet for someone. Let's understand this a bit better. Bring in Brotherton, who's the owner of Ipeleng Risk Management Services, who joins us now via our video link. It's great to have you on the program, Ryan. Thanks so much indeed for making time to speak to us. And we often speak about bodyguards in fleeting terms sometimes, you know, because usually bodyguards are associated with the people who are of public interest in many respects. But let's just understand broadly as a start, the kind of people typically would come forward saying that they're willing to be bodyguards, at least from your experience.
Okay, so just to give you a quick background on who I am, I went through the schooling system, I matriculated, and then at the tender age of 20, I got on a plane and I joined the British forces, the armed forces. I spent a good part of 6 years serving the Queen and country, and then I relocated back to Johannesburg, and my natural progression was to join the private security industry. So the type of profile we're looking for as a close protection officer is an individual who is dedicated and determined. Remember, their priority and primary concern is the preservation of life. So the type of individuals getting involved in the industry really need to be dedicated to their trade craft. Yeah,
and I mean, what does that mean? I mean, for instance, take us through the kind of training and debriefs you take them through in the lead up to them finally being taken on as bodyguards.
Okay, so we're governed by different awarding bodies in South Africa, and because of the sensitivity of the security industry, we have a professional firearms training council. We have the SASITA, which is the Safety and Security Sector Educational Training Authority, and then we have the Private Security Industry Regulatory Authority. So you could imagine the stringent and prescribed tests that these individuals have to go through. Remember, the police sometimes have shortfalls in fulfilling their mandate, and as you can see, the security industry is booming. So individuals can see that they are easily targeted by these criminal elements. So what's happening now is that there's a huge demand for personal protection. So these individuals need to go through these different organizations. So they will need to get their competencies, which is their firearm prescribed tests. They will need to then get their SIRA licenses as a security service provider, and then their specialized training. In this particular case, it would be close protection. So they would then have to go through a 3 to 4 week stringent training regime where they are learning the immediate action drills and the subject matter in protecting a client, which is known as our principal.
Yeah. Are you able to tell us a bit more about the people who are driving this demand? I mean, you speak about there being an increase in people who are seeking protection. Is it just from the high-profile individuals we speak about in the news, or are you finding that sometimes it's just ordinary South Africans who feel unsafe?
Yeah, listen, I mean, obviously because of the evolution of these criminal elements and the easy accessibility of information to them, they are now easily targeting your daily citizens in our country. So they have to put in the mitigation processes. We deal with high net individuals. We deal with government officials. We deal with anyone who's received an imminent threat against their life.
Yeah. So if somebody were to approach you saying that they're looking for this kind of service, let's call it, what are some of the considerations you have to make? Because part of what we've come to learn is that any kind of security detail, private security, I imagine, needs to be aligned with perhaps the lifestyle you're living, the type of person you are, simply because of just how often you have to interact with this person if your relationship is said to be effective.
Correct. So your first interaction would be whether you're deployed through a phone call or a sit-down meeting face-to-face with the client. Your first process as a close protection officer is to do a threat and risk assessment on who you protect then. We need to have a profile on that individual, and then we need to work around that individual's private lifestyle. So we don't want to hinder their lifestyles. We want to ensure that we have the correct close protection officer that suits and meets the client's needs. So, for instance, if he is an individual who likes to go out and club till late hours of the morning, it would be hopeless or pointless for me to put a 50-year-old ex-war veteran on him, because he won't blend in with that individual.
That's a good point. And I wonder to what extent you have found that having a good relationship with the security detail actually makes that person safer. Or, ironically, are you finding that it's a bit more difficult for that security detail, that bodyguard, to remain, in work mode, as it were, because they get along so well with the person they're looking after?
And that's exactly what we teach at our academy. The golden rule is not to get personal with your client.
Really?
If I get personal with you and I'm on a first name basis, I then become what? I become relaxed and complacent. I look down, I'm now servicing you, from a service delivery perspective, and I'm not scanning my ox of responsibility, as we would say.
How possible is that, though? Because
we need to ensure that we don't get personal with the client. Because when we get personal with our principal, that is when we become complacent. So the clients need to understand that we are not your bodyguard. We are not there to entertain your needs. We are there to protect you. When we're on the clock at 6 o'clock in the morning and we leave at 8 o'clock at night, that is our general duties, to provide body cover at a safe distance and to mitigate any threats or risks that are facing these clients.
Yeah, it's a brutal business. And, I'd go on a step further to say it's counterintuitive not to develop a personal relationship with someone you spend most of your day with. And I'm only saying that ahead of my question because I'm wondering whether people find that it's worth their while to do something like this, typically, because of what's involved. I mean, is there good money? Talk to me about the kind of insurance, for instance, you're able to get around these type of people because of the nature of their work.
So when we provide these services, it has to be done through a security service provider. So company X, Y, or Z, they would have their public insurances and their correct insurances in place. The reality is that we cannot be held responsible for your personal safety. If we tell you to sit in the back of the seat and put your seatbelt on and you don't put your seatbelt on and we do a harsh braking scenario and you fly through the window and you become an injured individual, that negligence does not it's not liable against the close protection officer. So you must understand the type of people we're dealing with. The close protection officer is going to know more about the client than the majority of his colleagues, his friends, because he is in the vehicle with the client all the time. He is at the hotels. He is at the business meetings. So it's hard not to develop a personal relationship. But when you do that, you then feel indisposable as a close protection officer. And again, it relates to complacency. And we have another saying, complacency kills.
Yeah.
So these guys, as CPOs, they need to understand that this is a pure business relationship. It is brokered between the principal and the close protection officer, and we need to make sure we set those limitations and expectations.
Yeah. Speaking about the possible consequences of complacency, I wonder how many of you guys have taken a bullet before?
Safe to say that we've lost one, we call them soldiers. We've lost one soldier over the last 10 years. So we're pretty fortunate as far as the training academy is concerned. The feedback we've had in the industry is positive, and we're very fortunate. Like I said, we've lost one, and we lost him to an RTA, which is a road traffic accident. It wasn't an actual firefight or a shootout where he was compromised. So unfortunately, they were doing a high-speed convoy, and they lost control, and unfortunately, may his soul rest in peace.
Yeah, condolences to his family as well. Ryan Brotherton, thanks for your time. This has been rather informative. Really do appreciate it. Ryan is the owner of Ipeleng Risk Management Services once again. Thanks very much indeed.